Maple Ridge, Oregon was always covered in fog. Emily Harper tightly gripped her bag strap as the moving truck stopped in front of the house. 16 years old. 2 years had passed since her father left this world. And her mother said she had found new love. That love's name was Kyle Benton. Emily, come on in. Your room is at the end of the second floor. Kyle smiled brightly and extended his hand. Emily didn't take it. Her mother gave her a prompting look from the side. Say hello. Hello. Emily bowed her head briefly and went inside the house. Emily had always been a quiet child. Things were different when her father was alive. Every weekend, she rode bikes with him, went to the library, and listened to the jazz music he loved. Her father wasn't talkative, but he was someone who listened to Emily's stories until the end. The car accident came suddenly. A rainy night on the highway. That was all. After that, her mother collapsed. She quit her job and shut herself in her room. Emily did the housework in her mother's place. She organized bills, went grocery shopping, and cleared away the food her mother hadn't eaten. About a year later, when Emily saw her mother smile, for the first time, she felt relieved. Emily, I want you to meet a friend of mine. His name is Kyle. Kyle was polite and kind. He gave flowers to her mother and always smiled when talking to Emily. Emily was cautious, but seeing her mother come back to life, she tried to open her heart little by little. Then her mother said, "We're going to move. Kyle has a house in Oregon. It's a fresh start." Emily couldn't refuse. The house in Maple Ridge was a 2-story wooden structure. There was a large tree in the yard, and the backyard was adjacent to the woods. It was quiet. Too quiet. Do you like your room? Kyle asked, leaning against the doorframe. Emily stopped unpacking and turned around. Yes. Let's live like family from now on. I can't replace your father, but I'll do my best. The words sounded warm, but Emily felt an inexplicable discomfort. Kyle's eyes weren't smiling. Thank you. Emily answered briefly and went back to unpacking. Kyle stood there for a moment, then slowly closed the door. The first dinner was quiet. Her mother looked happy eating the food Kyle had prepared. Emily, school starts next Monday. You'll make friends quickly. Okay. Kyle can drive you to school. Emily put down her fork. I'll take the bus. Why? Kyle is offering to help. I want to go alone. Kyle stopped smiling for a moment. Her mother looked at Emily with a flustered expression. Emily, aren't you being too sensitive? No, I just want to go alone. Kyle smiled again. It's fine. Let's do what Emily wants. Emily lowered her head. That night, Emily locked her bedroom door. She checked the doorknob and the windows too. She couldn't explain why, but she felt something was wrong. The next morning, Emily woke up early. She wanted to look around the house. In the living room were Kyle's belongings. Neatly organized file boxes, a laptop, and pictures hanging on the wall. Everything was perfect. Too perfect. Emily stopped halfway down the stairs. Kyle was standing in the living room. His back was turned, and he was on the phone. Yeah, everything's going according to plan. Just need to wait a bit longer. His voice was low. It wasn't the Kyle's voice Emily knew. The kid's no problem. She's quiet. Just need to manage the mother. Emily held her breath. Kyle turned his head. Their eyes met. Emily. You're up early. Want breakfast? Kyle was smiling again, but his eyes were cold. Instead of answering, Emily slowly went back upstairs. She closed the door and locked it again. Outside the window, the fog was getting thicker. Emily sat by the window and looked at the distant woods. Something sank coldly in her chest. Something's wrong. She couldn't explain it in words. But the feeling was clear. Kyle was a dangerous person. And Emily could no longer escape from this house. Monday morning, Emily attended Maple Ridge High School for the first time. The hallways were full of unfamiliar faces. Emily checked her locker number and quietly sat in the back seat of the classroom. No one spoke to her. Emily didn't speak to anyone first either. During lunch, Emily ate a sandwich alone at a corner table in the cafeteria. You're the new student, right? She looked up to see a female teacher standing there. She appeared to be in her 40s and had gentle eyes. Yes, I'm Mrs. Carter. I'm in charge of student counseling. If you have any difficulties adjusting, come see me anytime. Emily nodded. Mrs. Carter looked at Emily for a moment, handed her a business card, and left. Emily put the card in her pocket. After school on the way home, Emily walked from the bus stop to her house. When she arrived, Kyle's car was already parked. Emily opened the front door and quietly entered. "I'm home. Emily, how was school?" her mother asked with a smile from the kitchen. Kyle was sitting on the living room sofa looking at his laptop. "It was okay. Did you make any friends?" "Not yet. You will as time goes by." Her mother went back to preparing dinner. Emily went upstairs. She closed the door, put down her bag, and looked out the window. The woods looked dark. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She heard Kyle and her mother's conversation from downstairs. Laughter, the sound of dishes clinking. An ordinary daily life. But Emily kept thinking about that morning's phone call. The kid's no problem. She's quiet. Kyle was regarding Emily as something. Not an obstacle, but an object to be managed. Emily got out of bed and slightly opened the door. The hallway was quiet. She slowly went down the stairs. The first-floor living room was dark. Emily went to where Kyle kept the box of documents. Next to the sofa, under a small bookshelf. She opened the box. Documents were organized inside. Bank statements, contracts, and... Emily held her breath. Insurance documents. Her father's name was written on them. Beneficiary Emily Harper. Emily's hands trembled. Why did Kyle have her father's insurance documents? It's not polite to go through other people's things at night. A voice came from behind her. Emily turned around. Kyle was standing there. Even in the darkness, his eyes shone coldly. Curiosity is good, but you should be careful. Kyle slowly approached. Your mother entrusted those documents to me. There's a lot to organize. Why? The insurance claim process is complicated. Your mother couldn't handle it alone, so I'm helping. Kyle closed the box and put it back in place. Now go upstairs and sleep. You have school tomorrow. Emily went upstairs without answering. She closed and locked the door. Her heart was beating fast. The next day at school, Emily couldn't concentrate. During class, Kyle's face kept coming to mind. Those cold eyes, the low warning. At lunch, Emily stopped eating her sandwich. Her hands were shaking. Are you okay, Mrs. Carter approached and asked. Emily looked up. Your hands are shaking. Are you sick? No, maybe. Mrs. Carter hesitated for a moment and asked quietly. Is something happening at home? Emily bit her lip. She wanted to talk. That Kyle was strange. That he was hiding something. But she had no evidence. No, Mrs. Carter looked at Emily for a long moment and handed her the business card again. Come see me anytime. If it's hard alone, you can ask for help. Emily took the card. That afternoon, on the way home, Emily passed by the neighbor's house. An elderly man was doing yard work. Hello. The man greeted first. Hello. You're the daughter from the house that just moved in, right? I'm Frank. I live next door. Emily nodded. Frank looked at Emily for a moment and asked in a low voice. That man, Kyle Benton, right? Emily stopped. Yes. Be careful. What? Frank said nothing more. He just nodded and went back to his yard work. Emily stood there, then slowly walked home. When she arrived home, Kyle wasn't there. Only her mother was in the kitchen. I'm home. Yes. Kyle will be late because of work. Emily nodded and went upstairs. She closed the door, sat at her desk, and looked out the window. Frank's words kept echoing. Be careful. Emily took out her phone and searched for Kyle's name. Nothing came up. She searched again. Kyle Benton, Oregon, Maple Ridge. Still nothing. Emily put down her phone. At 11 p.m., Emily couldn't sleep again. She heard footsteps in the hallway. Kyle seemed to have returned. Emily looked into the hallway through the door crack. Kyle was on the phone. Yeah, if the kid just listens, it'll be easy. Just need to settle the insurance. Emily held her breath. The mother's no problem. She trusts completely. Kyle went downstairs with a smile. Emily closed the door and sat on her bed. Her chest felt cold. Now she was certain. Kyle had approached her mother for money. And Emily was an obstacle to that plan. Emily opened her desk drawer and took out a notebook. She wrote the date and time on the first page. Then she began recording what Kyle had said, one by one. She needed evidence. Now Emily knew she could no longer run away. She had to fight. Emily observed Kyle for a week. In the mornings, he drank coffee with her mother. and smiled at Emily in greeting. In the evenings, he cooked and watched TV in the living room. The picture of a perfect family. But at night, it was different. Kyle made phone calls. He lowered his voice and whispered in the corner of the living room. Emily listened from the top of the stairs. It'll be over next month. Just need to organize the documents. Emily recorded the date and content in her notebook. Evidence was accumulating, but it still wasn't enough. Thursday afternoon, after school, Emily went to visit her neighbor Frank. She rang the doorbell. The door opened and Frank appeared. You have something you want to ask? Yes. Frank led Emily into his house. The living room was old but tidy. Sit down. Emily sat on the sofa. Frank brought out tea and sat across from Emily. You came to ask about Kyle Benton, didn't you? How did you know? I can tell by looking at your eyes. You're sensing something's wrong. Emily nodded. Frank was silent for a moment. That man. He was in this town 5 years ago too. What? His name was different. It wasn't Kyle Benton, but the face was exactly the same. Emily held her breath. Back then he came with someone too. A middle-aged woman. Someone whose husband had died and who was alone. Frank took a sip of tea. 6 months later, that woman died in an accident too. They said she fell down the stairs. And that man disappeared, along with the insurance money. Emily's hands trembled. Frank looked at Emily. There's no evidence. The police handled it as an accident. But I know. That man is dangerous. Why didn't you say anything back then? I did. No one believed me. They said it was the rambling of an old man. Frank sighed. At least you be careful. And Frank handed her a business card. If you need help, contact this person. He's my nephew, a private investigator. Emily took the card. Mark Donovan, private investigator. Thank you. Emily stood up and went home. That night, Emily sent an email to Mrs. Carter. Carefully, but clearly. Mrs. Carter, may I tell you why I'm anxious? 30 minutes later, a reply came. Come to the counseling office anytime. I'll wait until you feel safe. Emily put down her phone and looked out the window. It was raining. Friday, Emily went to Mrs. Carter's counseling office during lunch. She knocked on the door. Come in. Emily quietly entered and sat in a chair. Mrs. Carter looked at Emily from across the desk. Take your time. Emily took a deep breath. My mother's boyfriend is strange. How so? He makes phone calls every night. He talks about my father's insurance money. And Emily stopped. Mr. Frank told me. He was in this town 5 years ago too. Under a different name. Mrs. Carter's expression hardened. Do you have evidence? I recorded it in a notebook. Dates and conversation content. Good. Emily, this is serious. Mrs. Carter began taking notes. I'll contact Child Protective Services. And the police too. But my mother. We need to tell your mother too. But right now your safety comes first. Emily nodded. Mrs. Carter held Emily's hand. You're doing well. Thank you for being brave. But that evening, the situation changed rapidly. When Emily arrived home, Kyle was standing at the entrance. Her mother was nowhere to be seen. Where have you been? Kyle's voice was cold. School. School ends at 2, but it's 6 now. I went to the library. Kyle slowly approached. Emily, we need to have a conversation. Just the two of us. Emily stepped back. Where's Mom? She went to meet a friend. It's just the two of us. Kyle smiled, but his eyes were frozen. I know you went to Frank's. You talked to your school teacher too. Emily held her breath. Who told you? That's not important. What matters is, Kyle took another step closer. You need to make a choice now. Either keep quiet for your mother's sake or... Kyle stopped. Emily looked at the front door. The distance between Kyle and the door. 3 meters. Emily took a breath and ran. She opened the front door and ran outside. Rain was pouring down. Kyle's voice came from behind. Emily. Emily didn't look back. She ran to Frank's house. She rang the doorbell repeatedly. The door opened. Emily? Hide me, please. Frank pulled Emily inside and locked the door. Through the window, she could see Kyle. He was standing in front of Frank's house. He stood there for a long time, then slowly turned back. Emily sat on the sofa, trembling. Frank brought a blanket and warm tea. It's okay. You're safe here. Thank you. Frank picked up the phone. I'll call my nephew. And the police too. Emily nodded. Through the window, she could see her house. The lights were on. Her mother didn't seem to have returned yet. Emily took out her phone from her pocket. She took out the business card Frank had given her. Mark Donovan. Emily pressed the number. The ringtone sounded. Then a voice came on. Hello? Is this Mark? I got your contact from Frank. Please help me. Uncle Frank? What's wrong? Emily said in a trembling voice. My mother is in danger. Mark Donovan arrived within an hour. He appeared to be in his mid-30s. He wore a black jacket and had calm eyes. In Frank's living room, Emily told the whole story from beginning to end. Kyle's phone conversations, the insurance documents, the story Frank had told about 5 years ago, and what happened today. Mark took notes and nodded. You did well. The notebook you recorded, do you have it? It's at home. We can't get it now. Mark thought for a moment and said, Kyle Benton, do you know what his name was 5 years ago? Frank answered. It was Kyle Matthews. Mark opened his laptop and began searching. There's a high possibility of prior insurance fraud. Looking at how he changes names, it's organized. Emily bit her lip. My mother. Your mother probably doesn't know anything. That's how Kyle approached her. Mark looked at Emily. Emily, from now on, evidence is important. The notebook you recorded is important too. But we need something more concrete. How? Messages or emails Kyle sent and received. Call records. Bank transaction history. Mark took out his phone. First, I'll report to the police and contact CPS. But it'll take time. What about my mother in the meantime? We need to persuade your mother. But right now your safety comes first. That night, Emily slept in the guest room at Frank's house. She couldn't sleep. Through the window, she could see the house. The light was on in Emily's room on the second floor. Her mother seemed to have returned. Emily turned on her phone. There was a text from her mother. Emily, where are you? Kyle said you went out. I'm worried. Call me. Emily started to write a reply and stopped. What should she say? Mark had said to be careful. If Kyle noticed, it would be dangerous. Emily replied briefly. I'm okay. I'm at a friend's house. Let's talk tomorrow. No reply came. The next morning, Mrs. Carter came to Frank's house. She sat in the living room with Mark and talked. I reported to Child Protective Services. A caseworker will visit the house on Monday. What about the police? The report was filed, but since there was no direct violence, the investigation will take time. Mark said. The Kyle Matthews identity check results came in. 3 years ago in Texas, he was investigated for insurance fraud, but was cleared due to insufficient evidence. Then, there's a pattern. He approaches women who've lost their spouses, and after receiving insurance money, he disappears. Mrs. Carter looked at Emily. Emily, you need to meet your mother. You need to tell her directly. But, I know you're scared, but your mother has a right to know too. Emily nodded. Saturday afternoon, Emily went home with Mrs. Carter and Mark. She rang the doorbell at the entrance. The door opened. Her mother was standing there. Her eyes were swollen and she looked tired. Emily. Mom. Her mother hugged Emily. I was worried. Why didn't you contact me? Mom, I have something to tell you. Her mother saw Mrs. Carter and Mark and looked flustered. Who are they? This is my school counselor. And this is a private investigator. Private investigator? Her mother's face hardened. What's going on? Emily took a deep breath. We need to talk about Kyle. Everyone sat in the living room. Kyle wasn't there. Her mother said he was out. Emily spoke carefully from the beginning. The phone conversation she heard the first night. The insurance documents she found in the garage. The story Frank had told. Her mother grew paler. No, Kyle isn't that kind of person. Mom, please listen. Mark opened his laptop. Kyle Matthews. 3 years ago in Texas, suspected of insurance fraud. 5 years ago in this town, a similar incident. And the man in your house now has information about your husband's insurance. Her mother covered her face with her hands. I just wanted to be happy again. Emily sat next to her mother. It's not your fault, Mom. I'm sorry, Emily. I should have listened to you. Her mother began to cry. Emily hugged her mother. Mrs. Carter said quietly. What's important now is securing evidence and keeping you safe. Mark added. We need to check the documents in the house before Kyle returns. Especially insurance-related documents. Her mother nodded and went upstairs. She opened the bedroom drawer and took out the documents. Insurance claim consent form. Beneficiary change application. Next to Emily's name, Kyle Benton's name was added as a co-beneficiary. Her mother sat down looking at the documents. I signed it. Kyle said he was helping with the process. Mark photographed the documents. This is enough now. We can file charges with this. An hour later, the police arrived. The evidence Mark had collected, Emily's statement, and Frank's testimony were submitted. The police waited for Kyle to return. At 5 p.m., Kyle's car stopped in front of the house. Kyle walked toward the entrance and stopped when he saw the police car. He hesitated for a moment, then turned and started running. But 2 police officers blocked his way. Kyle Benton, you're under arrest. Kyle no longer smiled. With a cold expression, he was handcuffed. Emily watched from the window. Her mother stood beside her. Are you okay? Yes. Her mother held Emily's hand. Thank you for saving me. Emily looked at her mother. We saved each other. That night, the house was quiet. Emily looked out the window in her room. The rain had stopped, and the fog was lifting. Mrs. Carter had said, "You were brave, and you did the right thing." Mark also said before leaving, "Asking for help when you're struggling isn't weakness. That's real courage." Emily engraved those words in her heart. Lying in bed, Emily opened her journal. The last page was still empty. Emily slowly wrote, "I was afraid, but I didn't stay silent. And now I know, truth can protect me." Emily closed the journal and turned off the light. Tomorrow would be a new beginning. And Emily was no longer alone. A month passed. Kyle Benton was indicted on charges of insurance fraud and document forgery. Other cases in Texas and Oregon also began to be reinvestigated. As Mark had said, there was a pattern. Emily's testimony and records were decisive. The prosecutor told Emily, "If you hadn't been brave, there would have been more victims." Emily nodded, but one side of her heart was still heavy. Her mother had changed a lot. For the first week, she barely spoke. She stayed in her room, skipped meals, and cried every night. Emily watched her mother, just like when her father had passed away. But this time was different. Emily no longer endured alone. She visited the counselor Mrs. Carter had introduced, together with her mother. In the counseling room, her mother spoke for the first time. "I'm sorry, Emily, for not believing you. It's okay. It's not okay. I'm a mother. I couldn't protect you." Emily held her mother's hand. "Mom, you were deceived too. It's not your fault. But we overcame it together, didn't we?" Her mother cried. Emily cried too. After that day, things gradually improved. Her mother started working again. She worked as a librarian at the Maple Ridge Library. Every morning she went to work, and in the evenings she ate dinner with Emily. It wasn't like before, but there were more days of smiling, little by little. One evening, her mother asked, "Emily, how's school?" "It's okay. Did you make friends?" Emily nodded. "A few." Her mother smiled. "I'm glad." Emily smiled too. At school, Emily was no longer alone. She had friends who came to see her every lunch. She didn't talk much, but just being together felt comfortable. Mrs. Carter still looked after Emily. "How are you these days?" "Good. Nightmares?" "Sometimes. But I'm okay." Mrs. Carter patted Emily's shoulder. "You're really amazing. You know that?" Emily shook her head. "I just did what I had to do." "That's courage." Emily looked out the window. Children were playing on the playground. An ordinary daily life. Emily was now part of that daily life too. Frank still lived next door. Emily visited Frank's house every weekend for tea. "School's going well." "Yes." "Your mother?" "She's much better." Frank nodded. "That's good, Mr. Frank." "Yes? Thank you for hiding me that time." Frank was silent for a moment. It was the natural thing to do. "We're neighbors." Emily smiled. Frank smiled too. Mark called occasionally. He informed her of the trial progress and asked about Emily's well-being. "Are you doing well?" "Yes. Contact me anytime if something's difficult." "Thank you. Emily, you were really brave. Don't forget that." Emily hung up and looked out the window. Maple Ridge still had frequent fog. But now she wasn't afraid. 2 months later, the trial ended. Kyle Benton was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Emily didn't go to court. She didn't need to see Kyle's face anymore. The prosecutor called and said, "It's thanks to your testimony." "Thank you. Okay. Live well from now on." You're strong enough. Emily hung up and went to the living room. Her mother was sitting on the sofa reading a book. Is it over? Yes. Her mother closed the book and looked at Emily. Let's start over now. Yes. Her mother hugged Emily. I love you, Emily. I love you too, Mom. That night, Emily thought of her father for the first time in a while. Days riding bikes with her father. Days choosing books at the library. Evenings listening to jazz music. Emily wondered if her father would be proud. Probably so. Her father always said, doing the right thing isn't easy, but it will protect you. Emily now understood those words. Spring came. The fog in Maple Ridge gradually lifted, and sunlight began to shine through. Emily sat on a bench on the school playground and opened her journal. She wrote on the last page, silence didn't protect me, but truth saved me, and now I know, I can be brave even in fear. That I'm not alone. Emily closed the journal. A friend approached and asked, what are you doing? Just thinking. Want to have lunch together? Yes. Emily stood up and walked with her friend. That evening, on the way home, Emily passed by Frank's house and waved. Frank waved back from the yard. When she entered the house, her mother was preparing dinner. I'm home. Emily, wash your hands. It's almost ready. Okay. Emily went upstairs and entered her room. Through the window, she could see the woods. Even those woods weren't scary anymore. Emily put down her bag and looked in the mirror. Her reflection looked different than before. Stronger. Dinner was quiet, but it was a comfortable silence. Her mother spoke first. Emily. Yes? Uncle Mark is coming next week. He wants to have dinner together. Okay. And, should we take a trip during summer vacation? Just the two of us. Emily looked at her mother. Her mother was smiling cautiously. Where to? Wherever you want to go. Where you wanted to go with Dad. Emily thought for a moment. The ocean. Okay, let's go to the ocean. Emily smiled. Yes. That night, Emily lay in bed and looked at the ceiling. It felt like she could sleep without nightmares for the first time in a while. Stars were visible outside the window. It was a night when the long rain of Maple Ridge had completely stopped. Emily closed her eyes. Tomorrow would be another day. And Emily no longer feared that day. A few years later, Emily became a college student. She majored in psychology and studied to become a counselor. Like Mrs. Carter, her mother still worked at the library. She was healthy and smiled more. Emily sometimes visited Maple Ridge. Frank had aged but was still tending his garden. You're doing well. Yes, Mr. Frank. You've become a fine adult. Thanks to you. Frank shook his head. Thanks to you. You were the one who was brave. Emily smiled. On the way home, Emily took out her old journal and read it. The words written on the last page. Silence didn't protect me, but truth saved me. Emily closed the journal and looked out the window. Maple Ridge still had fog. But now Emily knew. The fog lifts eventually, and behind it, sunlight waits. Emily smiled and walked forward.